Hi, I'm Tyrone Robertson.
I'm Derrick Robertson.
And this is the We're Not Arguing podcast, the podcast, a.k.a. the War Against Michael Ealy podcast.
That's not the name. No, it's not.
A.k.a. join me in my pettiness.
We will not.
A.k.a. join me in taking down Michael Ealy.
We will not.
So, this is that podcast. And
Michael Ealy, we don't believe in none of that. That's just one man.
One man can bring down the entire organization.
But you was not that man today.
This is like Nino Brown. You go down, you bring the whole thing down. I'm bringing it down.
No, you're not.
I'm waging war. Y'all thought I was playing. I'm dead serious. So
we seen your post.
Oh yeah,
we know you're serious.
Oh, I'm dead serious. So
posting all week.
All week, and I got more. I got some more. So I got more clips in the chamber. I'm letting them all out.
I see.
But anyways, how are you, Derrick?
I'm doing great. This week it's a little hectic, a little bit. We got a baby shower to plan and go to. That's basically it. The baby shower, really. Planning to go into this week. Been working, coming home, trying to watch some sports a little bit. But with all this stuff going on, it's good as it can be.
Yeah, I kind of feel you. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I was okay for a few days this week. I think things kind of hit me, and I don't think it was I'll be all right. Kind of brush it off. I think it's just the overwhelming of it.
It's a lot.
There's a lot.
And
I don't think I don't think I was okay this week. I don't think I was okay this week.
With both stories coming out, it's just like you got punched once, and another story came out, you got punched again, and both stories both stories show the same thing, and it's really sad how bad America really is with it when it comes to us.
So, okay, we kind of get those segues. Let's kind of get into it. So, on August 23rd, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times by a white officer. The reports are that the police were responding to a call from a field caller saying that there was a man on the premises who wasn't allowed. When the police arrived, they tried to stop Jacob, but he continued moving to his vehicle. After 2 failed taser attempts, when Jacob opened his car door and leaned in, one officer, while holding his shirt, fired 7 shots into Jacob's back. Jacob was in critical condition. He's alive. He lived it.
Paralyzed.
He lived it. I don't know if it's fully sure paralyzed. I'm not fully sure about that. And at one point he might be paralyzed now, but I don't know if he's permanently paralyzed type of thing, right? So yeah. And I think the real tragedy, not the real tragedy, but there's so many tragedies, is that his kids were in the car witnessing this. That
is very sad. And they're young kids,
right? They're young kids.
I don't think anyone's in double digits.
Yeah, so these were young kids who witnessed the shooting, right? And since the shooting, some information has come out. First is that he had a knife inside the vehicle. The second thing was that there was a warrant out for his arrest for 3rd-degree sexual assault.
Yes.
So
and there's another one that he was breaking up a fight.
Right. So I think he was there to breaking up a fight. Police were called out. Saw him there. Police called out. He, to try to get him to stop. Continue to his vehicle, and then that's what. So with all that being said, I kind of give a little wrap up. What are your initial thoughts just on the shooting?
This is sad. Like let's put it. Okay, he had a knife in the car. Okay, let's just say he had a knife in the car. Does that still warrant you shoot him 7 times in the back? Okay, he's have a warrant out for his arrest for sexual assault. Does that warrant you to shoot him in the back? Like, a lot of people was called out in the Me Too movement. None of them got shot 7 times in the back. It's just like, what else do we have to do or say to stop these things? To stop these getting shot 7 times in the back, getting killed, and nothing really happened. Once again, here's one officer doing something with other officers around, and not one of them stopped him. Not one of them said, hey, shot once, all right, something?
I mean, one, I would say this. I think the one thing is, I think you're in the military. You were in the military. I think you fire weapons. You know how quickly you can get 7 shots off. You can get 7 shots off before, not trying to throw anybody any bait, but I'm saying you can get, depending on the gun, you can get 7 shots off before anybody notices you shot.
It's a handgun, so.
But pow, 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 pow. That's not a. It's not like it's shoot, shoot.
You're right. So, but still, it's still you guys are there.
Yeah.
You're still there, and
although
he still got off 7 shots on him.
Yes.
Point blank range.
Yes. So I guess to me, it's one of the things that you see a lot of the tapes. Well, he had a knife, this and that. He had a knife. He had a warrant. Because you're not perfect doesn't mean you didn't deserve to live.
It's not even.
And by the way, it is also not the officer's job to assess the worthiness of that individual to live. It is not the officer's job to assess the worthiness or whether or not you are allowed due process. Every American citizen is innocent until proven guilty, right? Doesn't matter what.
Supposed to be.
Innocent until proven guilty, and is entitled to a due process.
Supposed to be.
Not process on the street. Well, we decided we're gonna do this, right? Well, I made my decision. You don't deserve it. You know, deserve to live anymore. And I think that's overall problem. And the thought that, you know, you have to be this perfect, outstanding individual in order to not be killed by the police is mind-boggling to me.
Well, it doesn't matter what, because even when we get shot or killed by the police, they look up at all your past history. They'll get your 3rd grade progress report talking about, see, he was a problem child. Like, they go through all the criminal history that the man ever did. Even if he wasn't, that does not give you the right to shoot him 7 times in the back and say, you know, whatever.
And I think that's the fundamental thing. It's one, regardless of who he is, what he was, crimes he might have committed in the past, he is still entitled to due process. He is still entitled to be innocent until proven guilty. He is still entitled to be judged in a courtroom of his peers. Now, we'll question whether or not his peers, because, you know, I have a question of how can an African American man be judged by no African American person on that jury and to be his peers? But regardless of the fact that is his right as an American citizen, right? It is not the officer's job. They are not qualified to be judge, jury, and executioner on the street in a split second. And I think also too, because here's the thing too, because you were talking about 7 times in the back, mind you, even if while leaning in the car, one, the officers did not know he had a knife in the car prior to the shooting.
Afterwards. That
was found out afterwards, right? So it wasn't known prior to the shooting. And in addition, it wasn't like I saw the knife and I fired. It was I was holding him, he was leaning, and then I fired. So that's another process too. While the people will say, well, he had a knife in the car, you understand what you find out afterwards is not the same information that the officers had at that moment. They didn't see a knife. He didn't present a knife. He didn't pull a knife out of the car.
And to use deadly force, because firing your weapon is using deadly force.
Yes.
You need a deadly force triangle. You need the capability, opportunity, and intent. He didn't have his knife on him, so he didn't have the capability or opportunity to do anything bodily harm to somebody. If he leaned in his car, like, he didn't have that before you shot him. So you didn't even meet the deadly force triangle, and yet you're just saying, "Oh, he had a knife in the car." Oh,
but I don't think that's. I think those are some of the justifications afterwards. I'm not saying that's what the officers. I'm saying that's the justification.
No, that's what I'm saying. The justification afterwards is, "Oh, he had a knife in the car." Okay, that still doesn't meet the deadly force triangle to justify the cop shooting this man.
Right, and then I think the other thing is it's hard to say that hitting someone in their back. I have seen nobody. At least I haven't seen it, and I've seen a lot of. I haven't seen any move where you can kill somebody, and they're behind you.
I haven't seen that yet.
I mean, I'm not talking about outside of weapon. I haven't seen any chokehold that works that way.
Outside of some mutant superhero powers.
I don't know it. So at the end of the day, because you are behind someone, you have someone's back, then that ought to me should erase the thought of you are fearing for your life, right? Because you're
just facing the dominance then,
right? Because there is no way you could be fearing for your life if you are behind him, and there's again 3 officers there. And so I think it's just one of the things that it's just yet again. And I think it's just added to the list. And unfortunately, that list just continues to grow. And I think not only does it continue to grow, but it continues to grow within succession. It's like you're not even over one. We haven't even we haven't even got the trial for George Floyd. Right?
We haven't even got the officers arrested for Breonna Taylor.
Right. We haven't even with the trial yet for Ahmaud Arbery. Right? And this is all since quarantine. Quarantine's been going on since March.
In the house.
Right, this is all since March, right? You had the Ahmaud Arbery, you had Breonna Taylor, you have George Floyd. All this while in the house. And I feel like I'm missing some more.
Yeah, we supposed to be COVID pandemic. You can't sneeze on somebody, but yet this is going on.
And it's one of the things that just continue over and over, just hit over the head with it. And I think what you're seeing now is just people there's going to be a reaction, and there's an explosion reaction every time. And I think as society is just can't stand for it anymore. And it's happening so much. And the thing is, it's happening so much that it's hard to even justify while each area, well, in this case, in that case, yeah, but
it's hard to say it's a different case scenario.
Right. It's like while you could say the individual circumstances are different, it's still bottled down to the same thing. a interaction with police officers and African Americans, both male and female, seems to be the African American male and female, armed, not armed, whatever the case, is at a disadvantage, and they're the ones that are in the dangerous situation, right? We're the ones who should be fearing for our lives, not the other way around.
It's like I said, when I was talking about the Joe Biden thing, he fears one side of the law. We fear both sides of the law.
Right.
We fear the criminal side of the law, and we fear the law by the people supposed to protect us from the criminal side of the law. So no matter what, it's like we're screwed either way. And
never mind the fact that if that officer was that close to that car, he saw the kids in the car.
He had to. And he was almost in the car.
Right. And you know the tragedy would have been if it was one of the things that one of the bullets hit the kids. Right. And no, it's already traumatic experience to witness that type of thing. Right. Like, no lie. Like, I don't know if you ever did this right, but one of my kids got in trouble. Right. So TJ got in trouble. Right. And we were disciplining him, and Elijah saw it. Elijah started crying. Right. Yeah. Just that moment of seeing his brother in trouble hurt Elijah's feelings. Imagine as a kid, you witnessing your father getting shot.
Exactly.
And what that does to you going forward. Not only with that, how do you then go to, showing a career day and a police officer comes into your room? How do you not then flash back to that?
Scared.
And be traumatized by that, right?
Yeah.
So then none of that, you're not traumatizing the next generation. You're showing the next generation why there's a distrust, a fear, a apprehension when it comes to our interactions with the police. And you just continue that going forward. Like I said, because it was a shot in front of the kids too. And sometimes our people and our kids have to matter too, right? It's hard for me to believe that if that car was filled with some Caucasian children, if the same result would have happened. If there still would have been so recklessly firing.
No, because I seen the video of a person in the shopping mall, he was in the grocery store, fighting a police officer. And the police officer was tasing him, talking about stop resisting arrest. Never once did he pull out his weapon. He was just tasing the guy. And he was eating tasers to the point where the guy took the taser from the officer and was banging it on the ground to where people had to come in and help the officer out. Not once did he pull out his weapon. Not once did the man get shot. No, he was perfectly fine. And they step on his hands. Then the officer arrested him. You've seen countless of videos of a dude getting tasered and he gets out, chase the officer away. And he gets in the cop's car. And the cop still didn't pull out his weapon.
Right. It definitely seems to be two different ways that the communities are policed. If you are one skin color, you are policed one way, and there's more of a hesitation.
You have the due process.
There's a hesitation before there's a jump to violent measures, right? At least lethal measures. Not even say violent, but lethal measures. Whereas on one end, it seems to have very little cause, very little provocation, very little things that incite a fatal interaction. Or, lethal interaction. And I
guess being black is very dangerous. And people fear for their lives from just being black.
It's amazing how, just having black skin makes you just as dangerous as someone walking around with a gun.
We're more dangerous than them.
Or more dangerous.
We're more dangerous than someone walking around with a gun.
So, walking around with a gun. So, when the kind of the news broke and social media kind of got wind of the shootings, right? There was protests and there was a lot of protesting and riot going on,
as it should be,
and in that location. And listen, while would I riot? No. However, when a people feel like they are unheard, when a people feel like this is enough, and they feel like there's no other course,
they're tired of being sick and tired.
Things are going to erupt, right? Mm-hmm. Things are going to erupt. And I think it is a natural solution. When you say, well, there's chaos, the problem is when the ones keeping the order are the ones
causing the chaos.
This is one of the results. This is one of the possible outcomes, right? A lot of rioting and protests going on in the street. And 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse from Illinois, not from Wisconsin.
Not from Wisconsin.
Not from the area.
No.
He wasn't
Illinois.
He wasn't from the area, concerned about his community, concerned about his neighborhood.
Hold on, before I did decent in school. Is Illinois and Wisconsin the same state? No?
They're not the same state, but they could be fairly close, but they're not in the same
state.
But
not in the same state, right? Illinois is a different state than Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Go ahead.
Isn't that what we just said?
We said from Illinois. I was just making sure the difference that it's a different state to continue with the story.
Okay. So, one, we mentioned 2 different states.
No, we said he was Illinois.
He's from Illinois.
Wisconsin.
Right.
Yes. So I was just like, being sarcastic, like Illinois is a different state, right? Because to go all for the story, how he drove through state lines with his weapon.
Well, although I would say, not every state is like California, where you have to drive 8 to 9 hours to get out of the state. But okay, anyways.
Either way, you cross state lines with your weapon.
Yes.
And you went to a protest with your weapon and then shot 3 people.
Go ahead. Keep telling the story.
Okay, well, he went to the protest and he killed 2 and injured 1.
Yes.
Then walked away with his weapon in his hand.
Yes.
People were screaming, hey, there's gunshots. He shot somebody. He walked by the police with his weapon in his hand. Police looked at him, let him go. He crossed state lines again and went in his bed and went to sleep.
Yes. And when you talk about the stark contrast between how those 2 situations were handled, a person was out on a warrant, right, ends up with 7 shots, whereas another person who did the shooting went in his own bed and went to sleep. One woke up in a hospital bed, and we're thankful that he woke up in a hospital bed and not...
He didn't wake up at all.
Right? One woke up in a hospital bed, one went to his own bed.
One woke up to pancakes and eggs.
And it even goes to how, how the story of how Dylan Roof was it Dylan Roof? Whatever. One of the mass shooters in the church was then taken to get Burger King before he went to jail. Yeah. Right? And it's just one of the things like, how is it that a person shot and killed gets treated with more decency, gets treated with more respect, gets treated with more compassion than a man selling cigarettes? Yeah. Than a man in front of his kids? Than a man going out for a walk? How is it that they have more compassion
than a woman playing video games in her own home?
Right. How is it that there's more compassion for a mass shooter than there is for a person you suspect for a misdemeanor crime? Yeah. A misdemeanor crime. And it's mind-boggling. And it's one of the things that it's almost too hard. You have to really work hard to justify that, right? You got to really close your eyes and you got to do some serious tap dancing.
I don't think you can justify this one. Oh, this one they're gonna try. Oh, they did. They did. He was a police prospect. He looked up to the police. I'm like, okay, so you looked up to the police? No, go. I'm gonna let you talk about the police chief before I get into that thing. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you were gonna let me kind of get to it. Listen.
I'm sorry.
Let me steer the ship.
Go ahead.
We have a dynamic set up here.
We do.
Let me drive. You sit back and you just enjoy the ride. Along? Yeah, I'm gonna get you there.
All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna get you there. So I agree. It's just one of the things that one wakes up in a hospital bed, handcuffed to the hospital bed.
Handcuffed.
The other one wakes up in his room, in his bed, and only one of them killed somebody. Multiple people. Yeah. Only one
killed 2 people.
And I guess when we talk about the stark contrast in how they're discussed, right? Mm-hmm. The police chief in Kenosha, Wisconsin, had a conversation. He was talking about the incident, and he had a very interesting way of describing
what happened.
The Kyle incident.
Persons who were out after the curfew became engaged in some type of disturbance, and persons were shot. Everybody involved was out after the curfew. I'm not going to make a great deal of that, but the point is the curfew's in place to protect. Had persons not been out involved in violation of that, perhaps the situation that unfolded would not have happened. So the last night, a 17-year-old individual from Antioch, Illinois, was involved in the use of firearms to resolve whatever conflict was in place. The result of it was 2 people are dead. This is not a police action. This is not the action, I believe, of those who set out to do protests. It is the persons who were involved after the legal time, involved in illegal activity that brought violence to this community.
Okay, stop. Hold on. There's several things wrong with this. First of all, you sat there and blamed the people who got shot because they was out at the curfew. He said if individuals had not been outside of curfew, none of this would have happened.
It's kind of like when kids are jumping on the bed and then one falls and bumps their head. And you're like, hey, y'all should. That's why I told y'all to stop jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
This is not.
This is not. See, this is what you get. This is not with. Hey, you tell your kid the stove is hot and he touched the stove and say, "I told you the stove is hot."
This is not I told you so. This is not. No. And it wasn't. Well, there was an altercation and all persons were out past curfew. So
he kept saying everyone's out past curfew. Like he's justifying this boy shooting folks. Like
this thug.
Oh, he's this gangster.
No, not gangster. This thug,
career criminal.
Thug. Yep.
Shooting people. He's saying it's the people's fault for being outside of curfew. If they was in their house in curfew, none of this would happen.
Why is it? It's amazing to me. Why is it when an African American is killed by the police,
he a thug?
It's the African American's fault, right? You
shouldn't have resisted arrest.
You shouldn't resist arrest, right? Why is it for once? Why isn't the shooter to blame at fault?
I don't know.
I don't understand. I don't understand this. If we're doing a blame ply, why isn't the shooter take 85% of it?
We blame everything else.
Everything else.
The weapon, everything else but the shooter.
It's amazing somehow when it's
unless the shooter's black. Unless the shooter's black, it's always the shooter's fault.
It's always a couple things about that area. One, while I'm not going to make a big deal of it, he could repeatedly emphasize the fact that you guys were out past curfew.
Yeah, I'm not making a bill, but you keep saying it. You're making a big deal of it.
Blame the victims because for some stupid reason, and we don't blame the actual ones committing the crime. So that's one, right? That's one of the.
That was horrible. What he
said. His emphasis on the curfew. My next problem with that is he was out there to resolve some issue.
What issue do you need? What issue do you need to shoot two people? What issue is
it's not that he has the issue. One, it wasn't his issue because he's not from that area. It's completely different if we're talking about a local teen who went out there. He saw the riots that happened before. His father or son owned some stores and he wanted to protect his store. It's
a different story.
That's a different story, and I can understand that from that standpoint. That's part of his issue. He's part of that community. You're not from that area. You're not
from the state.
You're not from that. Well, the one thing I don't like so quickly in state is because while yes, they are different states, I'm pretty sure they're close enough that it's not like it's way different, right? When you say it's not like we're talking about like California and New York. You know what I
mean? I know they're close, but still, it's like they're close. It could be like from California to Arizona.
I think it's shorter than that because I think it's only like 10 miles he drove, and you can't drive anywhere in California and get 10 miles to get out of the state.
Okay, either way,
that's what I mean.
That's it's not your issue.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's not your issue because you're not in that area, right? So that's one. Two, he wanted to resolve an issue. You created the issue.
You are the issue.
You are the issue. You're the one with the gun shooting. You are the issue. Resolve it by keeping your butt in your house. And that's the other thing it resulted in. So again, all my issues with this. One, his emphasis on the curfew, which mind-boggling. Two, he went out there to resolve an issue. No, he was the issue. He's the thing that needs resolving. Three, the resulted in. This is not a math equation.
Yeah.
We're not saying
1 + 1 = 2.
We're not saying that if you have one and you add another one, the result is you have two. No. The result, you are too casually saying the result is two people lost their lives. There's no remorse in that. There's no compassion.
Nope.
There's no empathy. Just the result is two people died. Those two people had lives. Those two people had family. Those two people had futures. Those people had people who cared about them. They're not some result. They're not some math equation. They're not two. Any answer, what is 1 + 1? Right? They're more than just some result. When you're talking about where's the compassion, this is what African Americans are talking about. Here's the police chief. That you're setting the standard. You're setting the goal. You are what the other officers should look up to. And you're the police chief saying, oh, the result, some people died. There's no compassion, no empathy, any of that. And then you're saying, well, why is there a mistrust of the police? Because we're just some result to them.
Yeah.
Because we're just some result.
Some result.
And that's it. Some result that from an issue, from a
conflict that the 17-year-old boy.
Not even a conflict. It's like some issue that needs resolved.
Yeah, some 17-year-old boy resolved.
Mind-boggling. Our condolences go out. Not our condolences, but our condolences go out to the victims of the thug.
Yes.
We're praying for those family members, his friends, their parents, family members, everyone involved. Our prayers and wishes are with the family of Jacob Blake. We hope
Yes.
we wish him a speedy recovery. We hope that his children can, I don't know how, but somehow,
some way,
kind of move forward to this. I know it's going to take therapy, prayer, a village around him, and I hope that thug gets everything that's coming to him. Put him under the jail cell.
You know, I hope he happens, but this was going to happen. He's going to get arrested. He's going to go to.
He's already arrested. Been arrested.
You know, he's going to get some McDonald's and everything else.
Some Little Caesar. You know,
yeah, he's going to get a whole buffet and everything.
Yeah, everything that comes to that thug. So, in light of these shootings, right? The sports world had a response.
Mm-hmm.
The sports world kind of stood up. So on Wednesday, after the shootings, after the news, a lot of the news broke, and a lot of the video came out of Jacob Blake witness. The Milwaukee Bucks decided that they weren't going to come out and play in their Game 5 of the playoffs. Mind you, the Milwaukee Bucks, of course, they're the team that's in the same state, so they're the Wisconsin, so they are most affected by it. They had multiple members who had negative experiences and run-ins with the police. As a matter of fact, I think one player actually had a lawsuit out against the Milwaukee police for how his treatment was. Mm-hmm. So this hit close to home for that team.
Yeah.
And they decided not to play their Game 5. They said we're not in a mental state to come 5.
Stand up to Milwaukee Bucks.
And what started off as the Milwaukee Bucks not coming out to play their Game 5 turned into a league-wide, NBA-wide boycott.
NBA shut down.
The Rockets, Oklahoma City, Lakers, Blazers, Celtics, Clippers, all teams
all shut down.
They said we're not playing. We had our conversation earlier in the year about the NBA. Some players already felt the way about playing this year, and they felt like it was going to distract away from the message and social justice, issues they were going for. Then this incident happens. They're like, see, look, now we definitely ain't going to be a distraction now.
Yeah, so this is what we told y'all.
So we are recording this on a Friday. From Wednesday, they boycotted, and the first games aren't going to happen. Now this is discussed until Saturday
and Sunday.
So they boycotted several games, and mind you, that's not a light thing to do. That's several game checks, right? That's advertisement dollars the league loses. That's some serious money.
And it's not just the players. Kenny walked out in solidarity as well.
So TNT sports analyst Kenny Jet Smith. You got to give out the full thing.
Kenny
you can't just say Kenny walked out as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, Kenny Jet Smith. He walked out as well.
All right, I'm gonna teach him how to be a podcaster, you guys.
Okay,
I'm gonna teach him.
NBA TNT analyst Kenny the Jet Smith walked out of his TNT analyst broadcast station.
Now you're trying to say so many words. You just stumbled. You just stumbled all over. You just threw words out there.
I did.
Apple, banana boat,
cherry
cruise.
pie, peaches and cream.
Yeah. You just stumbled all over this.
Okay.
You ready?
Go ahead.
All right. TNT sports broadcast and analyst Kenny the Jet Smith walked out of the broadcast on Wednesday night in his show of support for the players.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. Just like that.
Sure.
Sure.
I think some of the other messages did you hear Doc Rivers' speech?
That speech, when he said, "Why do we love a country who keeps showing us that they don't love us back?" That was some bars.
That hit so close to home, and I think he had tears when he said it. Right,
he did,
and I think that's kind of the point where you kind of see ourselves. We kind of see ourselves. It's like we want what was promised to us
way back when,
that all men be created equal. We want that same promise, and it's like every turn you just see no, you are not included in that promise.
Yeah. Every turn we see is that promise was made for everyone but us.
Right. And so, yeah, I think Doc Rivers gave out a great speech. And so several of the players and the NBA players and owners had to get into a meeting and to kind of discuss how do we go forward and what their conditions were to kind of go forward for the players. And by the way, and also I do want to kind of put this up too. While it started with the Milwaukee Bucks and went throughout the entire NBA, I also want to say the WNBA joined in. By the way, yes. The WNBA has been about that life.
Oh, yes.
The WNBA has been about that life.
Yes.
Like they, so WNBA also, some Major League Soccer, I think they also boycotted several games, and also several Major League Baseball teams also postponed their games and did not play.
Honestly, I know beginning of the podcast, way back in I think episode 2 or 3, I believe. I was like, celebrities should do more. This is more. This is definitely more because you gave up your money. You gave up checks that you can put food on your kids' table. Now, mind you, I'm pretty sure none of them is really hurting that much for this, but still, you still gave that up to make a stand and say we will not stand for this. And that is the type of thing I'm saying. You know what? Kudos to them.
Oh, no lie. Here's what I would say. I think this is the biggest statement made from the sports world in my lifetime that I can remember.
I don't think I remember.
I don't think
like this.
I'm talking about at mass, right? I'm not talking about like the Colin Kaepernick thing. I put that right there, but that was an individual, right? Versus I'm talking about United Front. The NBA is my favorite league, and they just prove why, right? How they're my favorite league. They showed that they care, right? I'm not saying they didn't. I don't want to be clear. I'm not saying they never cared. But that's one of the ones we're with you guys too. It kind of back to that video I played a few episodes ago where we had the congressman saying like, if I don't have this badge, and the cops were like, I thought you were one of them. I am one of them.
Yeah, like Jimmy Butler was trying to go with no name on his jersey because he's saying if I wasn't Jimmy Butler, I would be just like those guys.
That is the NBA, the NBA players, the WNBA players, Major League Baseball, soccer, saying we are one of them.
Yes.
And we are one of them, and we're hurt too. And not anymore.
And we're not going to entertain you while you keep going around killing us.
Not anymore.
We're going to shut up and dribble.
And while I have not confirmed this, and I'm not going to do research now, I'm going to put it out there. I'm hearing that one of the demands that the NBA players had is that the owners would have to open up their arenas to be voting locations.
That's huge.
By the way,
that's
if
huge.
that is true, that is using your platform. That is using your power. Because what you have done is you created a space that's big enough to house several voters, hundreds of voters, still while social distancing. Mm-hmm. There often is going to be in a community that people are already familiar with going to. Mm-hmm. Because here's one of the problems, right? I'm a local to San Diego, right?
Okay.
If I am a voter and the voting booth that I'm used to in my location gets shut down, right? My voting location gets shut down.
Spring Valley.
Right, Spring Valley, right. Okay. I might not feel comfortable to go to La Jolla to that one, right? I might not feel as comfortable to go to La Jolla to a polling booth. I'm like, I don't know that area. I don't want people looking at me, right?
Yes.
Versus if I'll go to Qualcomm.
Because you're used to it because you've been there watching.
And plus, it's a neutral location. It's not like Qualcomm doesn't belong to Mission Valley, right?
Exactly.
Right, and I think if this is true, that's using a platform. That's kudos because we've seen it countless in the preliminaries that the voter suppression is real.
Well, even them boycotting is them using their platform,
right? But I think
them boycotting and saying we're boycotting for this specific reason. We're boycotting because of this shooting. Is even using your platform.
But I think one of the things is too though, what you have to be mindful of is that it's kind of like the blackout on social media. Like, well, don't buy anything. Don't post anything. Action without a purpose doesn't really do anything, right? If they just didn't play 2 games and then came back and started playing, it was like, oh, you just got an extra rest. I think in a boycott with demands, with things that we want out of it.
Well, even Milwaukee Bucks, they did demand that. They were saying that they need their police, the Wisconsin police force, to be governed better,
right?
But
that's what I mean, though. But not that we're not playing until these demands, right? That's what I mean. It's not we want this, but we're going back to play now. It's like, okay, well, that's what I'm saying. If using your platform saying we're not playing, players come to the table. What can we do? This is something you can do. Mm-hmm. Right, that's what I mean. It's using your platform and getting something for it, not just saying it and we want this. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I would put out as the distinguishing difference.
Yeah.
So that's what I would put out as a difference. So I would definitely say kudos to the NBA, to every player. Just kiss and love your loved ones.
Yeah.
Kiss and hug them. Tell them you love them, because everyday interactions, you never know how it can end up, right?
You never know.
So after we recorded our last episode, we got the tragic news that Chadwick Boseman, the American actor from South Carolina, passed away due to colon cancer. And both me and Derrick felt like we couldn't let this opportunity go by, or couldn't let it go by without sharing our thoughts on Chadwick's life and legacy and everything. So, Derek, where were you when you got the news, and how did you initially feel?
When I got the news, I saw it on Facebook. I saw this happen, and I was like, wait a minute, this can't be real. Mm-hmm. So I saw one post like, oh, RIP. I was like, nah, this not real. Kept scrolling, see more and more and more posts, and then I Googled it, and I was like, yo. And I believe I tried to call you, but I think you was in a meeting at the time. Mm-hmm. I let my wife know. I was like, hey, Black Panther just died. And she's like, no, for real? I was like, yeah. And then she scrolled. So it was scrolling through social media when I found out. And it was kind of, he's the closest to Kobe to me without being Kobe. Mm-hmm. All the things that he did and all the movies that he portrayed and brought to life. He brought Jackie Robinson to life. And I think that was the first time a Jackie Robinson movie was made, I believe. I don't know
if it was the first one, but I don't know if that was the first time Jackie Robinson was portrayed in a movie, but I would definitely see that's probably the most mainstream and bigger budget Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, and then he did the Marshall, which is
Thurgood Marshall
movie. And then, of course, the Black Panther that he brought to life. So, and I didn't even know he did James Brown.
Yes, he did James Brown too.
I didn't. That one I didn't know. He did James Brown. But he's a really good actor, and to find out that he was doing Marshall while doing chemotherapy and radiation is even more crazy. Like the performance he put on while I seen someone go through chemo and radiation. That is not an easy thing to go through.
So here's what I asked you. I said, Derek, where were you, and what was your initial feelings?
I gave you I was scrolling through social media. My initial feelings is he is the closest thing to Kobe without being Kobe.
Right, but then you went on to the other stuff.
I was explaining why I said he's the closest thing to Kobe without being Kobe. That's all I was explaining. I was explaining why. So where was you when you got the news?
So of course I was at home, and like I said, I was in a meeting with my with our parents, talking to our parents, and you got the text, right? And it's similar to Kobe to me. Whereas when you see it on thing, you're like, that ain't true. Stop it. Especially because it's not like it's somebody you were expecting to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, knock on wood, I don't want to kill this person, but certain people, if you got the news that person died, you'd be like, okay.
Kind of see it coming.
Yeah, so they're a little older, they're kind of sickly for a while, like, okay. But it wasn't like there was news out there that Chadwick Boseman was ill. It wasn't like there was anything out there. So to get that, similar, like I said, I feel like similar to Kobe. To get that news all of a sudden, it's like, no, it couldn't be. Right? And it's like, no, they have more to do. They have more to give. And so, yeah, I think it was definitely a sense of disbelief. And I think it was definitely something that hit hard. And I think it definitely, I'm not going to lie, between this and some of the other stuff that was happening, I was not okay for a few days.
Yeah.
I wasn't okay. And I needed some processing time. So, yeah. So those are our initial thoughts. Now, after the fact, I think you were kind of getting to this. After the fact, and once you see some of the tributes and some of the posts that his castmates and friends in the industry have kind of put out there, what are your thoughts and feelings about that?
There are certain deaths that just hits different. Mm-hmm. There's certain like I said, Kobe he hit different.
Kobe hit different.
It wasn't just a culture thing mourning him. It was like everyone mourning Kobe. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same thing with him. He hit different. Like everyone is mourning his death. He doesn't touch. It's not just, even though he did bring a lot of the black culture to life, it's still everyone was affected by this, and everyone got hit by this, and everyone is hurting by this. Like I even seen some of the pictures of the kids crying. You seen that one with the kid? He had the Wakanda Forever, and the tears rolling down his face. That's kind of what it is. It's kind of like this is a really hurtful thing. And now I did not grow up with him like I did with Kobe, but still, it's still one of those like this one really rocked you, and you had to take a minute to sit back and be like, this is for real. Yeah,
I would definitely think so. And I think the one thing about this character and the one thing about Chadwick Boseman and the characters he played is it hit different generations. Like you said, you saw the kids with their toys doing the Black Panther memorial service. You saw our age people. You saw older generation. I think because he did things that touched everyone, right? The older
Yeah.
generation, the James Brown, the Jackie Robinson, the Thurgood Marshall, right? Our generation where he does the Black Panther, the 21 Bridges,
Bridge
right?
Street, yeah.
Right. So
Letter to the King.
21 Bridges, yes.
Yeah.
Not Bridge Street.
Yeah, 21 Bridges, but the Letter to the
Oh my
King,
God.
yes.
Right. And then when you're talking about the younger generation being Black Panther, that's the toys that they have. That's what they're doing. So he hits multiple generations, and I think that's what you kind of saw too, right? The older, the younger, and the middle age, he hit them all, and it affect that. Now, I think you kind of alluded to this too. What were your thoughts on when you find out that he was battling colon cancer for years, and and the list of movies that he did while battling these items?
Black
It was
Panther's
remarkable.
one of those movies.
I mean, it's like Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, Marshall, 21 Bridges.
Letter to the King was in there.
Yeah, and there's all those movies that he's done while doing this. What are your thoughts on that?
He's an amazing man.
Yeah,
He's a superhero. Because, like I said, I've seen someone go through chemo and radiation. That takes you out.
right.
To still not only do that, but to put on the performances that he did put on in these movies, and the acting that he did, and the action-packed stuff that he did, even though this chemo stuff is taking him out, is amazing. And it's wonderful. And you gotta tip your hat off to this man. This man is a real life superhero.
I definitely agree. I think when you see how he battled through it all and still came out, right? And even to the point in Black Panther where he's doing his own stunts. Black Panther is a very physical role, right?
Yes.
That's not a I'm a great debater's role. I'm just sitting here and talking all day and I can sit down in the chair. No. Black Panther is a physically demanding role. And to put that on and while still what you're going through and fighting for your life, I think that is just truly, I think, said remarkable. And I think some of the tributes I've seen in the outpours have been really touching, right? What Michael Kugler wrote, the director of Black Panther, how Marvel sent him off, and that the Forever Our King.
You can tell he was really liked.
Right,
You
really
can tell he
liked,
was a great guy and really liked.
and that's I think that's what you saw over and over, and the amount of dignity to go through what you're going through and still make people smile, still bring joy to other people's lives. I think it's truly, truly remarkable, right? And truly remarkable. So, how do you think he's going to be viewed going forward, or like in the future, right, or in history?
I think he will be viewed as one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Just for, like I said, just for the things that he put on and he portrayed. The Marshall, the James Brown, the Jackie Robinson, the Black Panther. Because remember when Black Panther came out, that was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
That was like black people like, yo, this is great for us. So I think he will go down as one of the greats to do it. And I think he will be remembered very highly. And I think he's part of legacy. I think he made a good enough legacy to where down the road we'll still be talking about this man 5, 6, 10 years down the road.
I definitely agree. I definitely kind of agree. So we definitely want to send our heartfelt condolences out to his friends and family and all those who knew Chadwick Boseman, right? We will definitely mourn. So what are your closing thoughts, Derek?
My closing thoughts, I don't think there will be another one like him. I don't think there would be, and I really don't know what Marvel's going to do.
So I would say I have several ideas, but I'm not going to do them now.
Yeah, we're not doing that, but I'm saying I don't know.
I have several ideas, but let's wait a while before I bring up
the ideas. Yes, but I'm saying he played that role so good that it's almost like the Genie role with Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
That he played it so good, it's hard for anyone else to come after to do it, and you're always going to compare him to that role. Like you're always going to, whoever comes after, you're always going to compare it to him.
Right.
And it's like, well, he didn't do it as good as him. And it's almost impossible to do the role good as him. And it's just rest in peace. And it's really a sad occasion. This one is really sad and this one really hits hard.
Every once in a while, some actors are blessed to get once in a lifetime roles. Right. And there'll be lines and roles that we remember that we'll say forever, right? always remember Luke. You know,
I am
I'm sorry.
your father.
We'll always remember I am your father, right?
Yeah.
We'll remember Bye Felicia, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will always remember those. And then there are very few who get once in a generational roles.
Mm-hmm.
Where there are movies and films that do more than just give you an escape for 2 hours. They are more than just getting involved and entrenched into this world.
Mm-hmm.
They change how you feel about yourself. They change how you see the world. There are some films, some roles that once you leave, you know everything else going forward is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa did in Black Panther.
Yeah.
That film was one of the few times in American history where African Americans were celebrated. That is one of the few times in American history that, as a nation, we stood up and applauded African Americans. And not just because they scored a touchdown, not because they made a dunk, right? But we celebrated African Americans and what their culture could be, right? And even to the point of the view of Africa and how oftentimes when you see Africa depicted, it's depicted as this barren wasteland, this place of destitute and just of starvation, whereas it was redisplayed as a place of wealth, as a place of knowledge, as a place of as a cultural hub, right? That's what that moment was. It was a celebration, and Chadwick Boseman in that role showed the best of us.
He did.
Showed us as a protector.
Mm-hmm.
Showed us how to stand up in the face of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a sharp contrast to Michael B. Jordan's character, where you see the animosity, and it's so much so a reflection of the times we're in now, right?
Yeah.
Where you see so much so of all the hate and the bitterness that is aimed towards us. And Michael B. Jordan's character brought it in and accepted and let it corrupt him, and so that he became hateful.
Mm-hmm.
And we see some of that now. Like I said, we see some of us, on social media, whereas it's starting to turn us hateful.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you saw T'Challa and my character take that hate in, stand up right in front of it, and say, no, I will not accept this. I will not let you change who I am. I will not let you corrupt who I am.
And again, changing the hateful thing.
And I will go through and I will show you that I'm not what you call me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is such a lesson we need to bring today. Whereas you look on media and they tell you what you are. They label you certain items, and you can either bring that hate in or stand up for them and say, no, that's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
The belief that, and not the beliefs, but his actions to go out and care for and interact with children who had terminally ill cancer, knowing this whole time he had that connection with them, that they were both battling something together. And to go through what you're going through and to still think about others
first,
to still want to bring a light to others, to still want to bring joy to others is the signs of a remarkable human being. To talk to those kids and knowing that the connection that he shared with those kids wasn't the fact that they had this disease that was shortening their life, but it was the fact that they together shared the secret to life, which is not how long you have, but what you do with the time you have. And Chadwick Boseman utilized the time that he had. He brought our heroes from history, our heroes from the comics to life. He gave them a face. He gave them a voice. And he brought their stories and their lessons forward to a new generation. So that the younger kids can understand the life of James Brown, the life of Thurgood Marshall, the life of Jackie Robinson. That type of work ethic, that type of legacy goes on and will always be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And while we would tell each other Wakanda forever, meaning as a celebration, as a moment of triumph, as a moment of jubilation, going forward, we will still say Wakanda forever. But we will also use that to remember and honor the legacy of Chadwick Boseman. When we go forward and saying Wakanda forever, we are acknowledging what he gave us: a sense of pride, a sense of self-esteem, a way to view ourselves that's so much different than so many other images that we've seen. Chadwick Boseman will forever be our king. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
I'm Tom Robertson.
I'm Derek Robertson.
We're out.
All right.